Okay, the main reason why you idiots out there, you scientific idiots who think that the Earth rotates, believe that it rotates, is based on stupidity and based on man's perception. When Copernicus proposed that the theory that the Earth rotates, it was accepted by the intelligentsia like Galileo and other idiots who believed, because what I think is that there was like an emotional, kind of like a retributive factor involved, wanting to get back at the church, because the church was strict on their stance that the Earth does not rotate, because it doesn't rotate. Okay, but the Earth is also inverted. The church didn't teach that, though. But anyway, what the intelligentsia did, the pseudoscientific establishment, they latched on to the theory that the Earth rotates. And so having this preposition in their minds, this faulty preposition in their minds as the centuries progressed, they've accepted it. They've learned to, this is like a public accepted fact within the scientific community that the Earth rotated. And so when Michelson and Morley came along, they conducted this experiment where they wanted to detect the ether. Now the ether is actually there. There's ether. It's a medium in which everything exists, where light permeates. And so what the scientific establishment had to do, they had to eradicate the notion of there being an ether based upon the Michelson-Morley experiment. And I was watching this video where I noticed initially right on, they have it totally wrong, because they already presuppose that the Earth is rotating around the sun.
As we move about the sun and the
as we move about the sun, okay, now the
sun moves about the universe, our orientation and velocity must vary with respect to this proposed ether frame. This is the Michelson-Morley experimental setup. If light travels at different speeds in different directions along paths of equal length, then when the beams from the two paths reunite, they will form an interference pattern. If, however, light travels at the same speed in all directions, no interference would be observed.
See, now this is all based on the speculative notion that the Earth is rotating and is rotating around the sun. So if it's rotating and they're doing this experiment and there's no difference, there's no interference pattern, light is traveling at the same distance, the same constant speed, same velocity, despite where you are on the Earth or what time of the year, if it's constant, then they conclude that there's no ether. However, they do not entertain the fact that the Earth does not rotate and that the ether is there and that light is traveling at the same speed, because the Earth is not rotating and the ether is in a universal constant flux moving about the inside of the Earth. They don't do that, do they? No, they don't do that. But now there's another experiment that a guy named Sagnac conducted. And what he conducted was, Malcolm Bowden explains it very well here. Notice 1,600 views in over 1 year.
In 1913,
it's kind of sad.
Sagnac carried out a simple experiment of passing light in opposite directions around a table and recombining them. This produced interference fringes. He then rotated the whole table at 2 revolutions per second and found that the fringes changed. This result has very significant implications in science.
So, the table is representative of the so-called spinning Earth, okay? So on this table, on a rotating table, these fringes where two beams of light where a beam of light is split and they go into 2 different directions. However, one is traveling at a farther distance than the other, so it takes longer to get there. Well, basically, the reason why it's taking longer to get there is because it's traveling at a further distance. It's still going at the same speed. It's all still going through the ether. This experiment proves that there is an ether in the Earth. And it also proves that the Earth is stationary. That's why the Michelson-Morley experiment failed in their eyes, because they were under the faulty premise that the Earth was spinning, but it doesn't spin. So if you do spin the Earth, you would get the different time intervals. You would get a different interference of two beams of light hitting a target at different times. Comprende?
It works as follows. A beam of light leaves the light source at the bottom left-hand corner and is split into two different beams, which we have coloured red and blue just to distinguish them. They travel round the circuit in opposite directions until they eventually reach the splitter, which also recombines them.
So this is basically essentially what the Michelson-Morley experiment test results happened. The light reached the target at the same time because the Earth is stationary. Okay? Now,
There, they then go on to the photographic plate where they have interference fringes.
see, they reach it at the same time because there's no spin to the table.
In this simplified version, we see the beam is split into two, the red and the blue again, and they go round the circuit and are recombined at the splitter and recombining prism, so that they again produce the fringes on the photographic plate. Now let us rotate the table. Before we do so, there is the very important subject of the effect of the ether. The Michelson-Morley experiment failed to detect the 30 kilometers per second motion of the Earth through the ether. So as to overcome this problem, Einstein simply abolished the ether in his relativity theory. The very significant result of the Sagnac experiment was that it proved that the ether existed.
Yes, it did.
Let us see how it did this. It is a fundamental feature of relativity that it claims that as there is no ether, light travels away from a source at the same speed relative to the source, whether the source is moving or not. Thus,
So this would be if there was no ether, the light would reach at the same speed. So this would be regardless of whether or not an object was rotating or not. However, that is a faulty, it's not true. That's not really what is happening.
whether the table is turning or not, the fringe patterns should stay the same. But if the ether exists, once the light has left the source, the speed of the light is controlled by the ether, independent of the speed of the table, mirrors, etc., as we see here. So let us see what happens when we rotate the table.
Yes, let us see that.
Here, the light is split, and the red and blue lights go in opposite directions.
Okay, see now, you notice why the blue light hit the target sooner than the red light? Because this distance is longer, because the table is rotating. It's rotating, this target's rotating away, so it's a farther distance from the starting point. This mirror is rotating toward the starting point of the light, so it reaches there faster. It's still going at the same speed. The light is still going at the same speed. It's only that the targets, the distance of the targets are varying.
But notice that the left-hand mirror has moved around in such a direction that the distance the red light has to travel is further. Now in relativity, the same time should be taken because the splitter is also moving and the distance between them is the same. But now imagine that the ether exists and the speed of the light is controlled by the stationary ether. Imagine the ether like a thick treacle that limits how fast the light can travel, independent of the motion of the light source, the splitter, or the mirrors.
Independent of the light source or the mirrors. Independent. The light is moving at a constant speed through the medium of the ether. So basically, if the distance changes, there's going to be a varying degree to which that light hits that target.
Result is that the red light takes longer to reach the left-hand mirror. Similarly, the right-hand mirror is coming towards the blue light, so it reaches the mirror quicker. After they change ends, the red light again takes longer to reach the recombiner, whilst the blue light gets there quicker again.
See, it's getting there quicker again because it's continually moving. So the blue target from here to here is a shorter distance than how far the red has to travel from here to here because of the rotation of the table.
So they reach the photographic plate with a delay between them, and this changes the fringe pattern. In fact, Sagnac, using the speed of the rotation of the table, calculated how much the fringes should change, and found that they did change by just that amount.
So the ether does exist because the Earth is stationary. Michelson-Morley's experiment was accurate it was accurate anyway, but if you understand the true velocity of the Earth is 0, then it totally makes sense. The ether is present. It's just traveling through the ether, and the light is hitting the targets at the same time, dependent upon what time of the year it is or what part of the world the light is being emitted from. Now, the problem that people like Malcolm Bowden and what's the other guy's name? Gerard Desbos, these Bible-believing geocentrists have, is they have to try to fit into their equation because they believe that the Earth is still convex, not concave. So they still hold to the faulty notion that the sun is 93 million miles away and the moon is 238,000 miles away and the stars are hundreds of billions of light years away. They have to somehow cram the fact that these celestial objects are orbiting a convex Earth in a 24-hour period and making one full 360-degree cycle. It's ludicrous, okay? It doesn't make sense. However, if the universe was tiny, we already know that the Earth is stationary, okay? But if the sun, the moon, the stars, and planets are all orbiting inside the Earth, then it's easily feasible, that the sun and the moon and the stars can rotate a full circuit in a 24-hour period, okay? The problem isn't with the science. The problem is with the psychology and the societal acceptance of bullshit. This is bullshit. So, I know I'm going to offend a lot of you scientific people out there, but fuck you. You're full of shit, okay? So I make fun of you because you're full of shit. This is basically, the strongest argument is ridicule anyway. So that's what I have to use scientific fact along with ridicule, and ridicule you for accepting stupidity. Same concept with the king's new clothes, king's new robe. Same bullshit. Bullshit. Earth doesn't spin, and the universe is tiny, and we are living inside the Earth. That's all there is to it. So fuck you. Have a good day too.